Does it ever feel like you're waiting for your own life to start? You're sitting in your car at the end of the day. You're staring at the front door. You realize you have to gear up just to walk inside. You've become a world class manager of a life you've stopped inhabiting. You're winning the efficiency game, but you're losing the human game. You're stuck because every try to change hits the wall. It's that invisible barrier made of fear, habit, and the thought that if you stop being useful, you'll stop being enough. Today, we're done with the audits. We're going to talk about the threshold. It's time to stop circling the wall and finally step through the door. Welcome to Passion Struck. Hi, I'm your host, John R. Miles, and on the show, we decipher the secrets, tips, and guidance of the world's most inspiring people and turn their wisdom into practical advice for you and those around you. Our mission is to help you unlock the power of intentionality so that you can become the best version of yourself. If you're new to the show, I offer advice and answer listener questions on Fridays. We have long-form interviews the rest of the week with guests ranging from astronauts to authors, CEOs, creators, innovators, scientists, military leaders, visionaries, and athletes. Now, let's go out there and become passion struck. Let's be honest about why you're still sitting in that driveway. It's not because you're lazy. It isn't because you lack willpower or because you haven't read enough time management books. You're sitting there because exhausting as your life is, it's predictable. You know how to be tired. You've been tired for a decade. You've mastered the art of the grind. You know exactly how to triage crisis at work, manage the soccer schedule, and handle the 1,000 small demands that hit you the second you walk through the door. There's a strange, disoriented comfort in that exhaustion. When you're tired, you have a role. You're the provider, you're the fixer. But stillness is terrifying. When you stop moving, the noise of the to-do list fades, and you're left with the silence of your own head. And in that silence, questions start to bubble up. Questions about whether any of this actually matters, or if you're just running in place. So, what do? You pick up the phone. You check one more email. You find one more task to manage. You use your busyness as a shield. If you're running 100 miles an hour, you have a perfect ironclad excuse for why you're not present. You can tell yourself and everyone else that you're just spread too thin, but the truth is, the busyness is a barrier. It's a way to avoid looking your partner in the eye. It's a way to avoid the weight of your child's gaze when they're asking for a version of you that doesn't have a phone in its hand. Your brain is actually helping you stay stuck. Inside your head, your nervous system is running a very old program, a program designed to keep you safe. And to your brain, safe means doing exactly what we did yesterday. When you try to slow down, when you try to reallocate that time to just being instead of doing, your brain sees that as a threat. It treats rest like vulnerability. Think about it. In the wild, if an animal stops moving and lets its guard down, it gets eaten. Your brain hasn't caught up to the modern world. It sees your to-do list as a survival strategy. It thinks that if you stop managing, everything will fall apart. So it triggers a physical response. Anxiety, restlessness, that itch to check your notifications. It's trying to pull you back into the safety of the struggle. We stay in this known hell of burnout because even though it's draining us, we know the rules of the game. We stay because the unknown heaven of presence requires us to lose control. It requires us to stand in our own homes without a checklist to hide behind, without a title to protect us, and without a win to aim for. It requires us to be seen. And for a lot of us, being seen is a much scarier prospect than being busy. I want you to really hear this. Insight is just a map. You can sit in your car with a map spread across your lap, staring at the route, and still be standing perfectly still. You can know exactly where you're losing your energy and still not move an inch toward the door. That is why I created the Ignited Life. The core of this Purpose by Design series is the belief that meaning isn't something you stumble into, it's something you build through intentional reflection. But you can't build it if you won't stop long enough to ask the questions that actually move the needle. Because insight creates awareness, but reflection creates direction. It's time to close the gap between the life you're managing and the life you want to inhabit. Join the conversation and get the audit at theignitedlife.net. Now, come back to that driveway with me. We've talked about the math. We've talked about why your brain treats stillness like a threat. But there's a deeper reason why you're still sitting in that car, and it's the one thing nobody wants to say out loud. You're terrified of who you are when you aren't being useful. This is where the wall gets thick. This is where the resistance isn't just a schedule problem, it's an identity crisis. Because if you aren't the fixer, the provider, or the one who handles it all, then who are you? That question is the reason we stay exhausted. We've handcuffed our worth to our output. From the time you were 5 years old, you were taught that being useful was the highest form of praise. You got the gold stars for finishing your work early. You got the Student of the Month award for being the most reliable person in the room. You grew up, and those gold stars turned into promotions, bonuses, and the reputation of being the person who can handle anything. You've built a massive, successful life on that one trait. You are the provider, the fixer, the one everyone calls when things go sideways. But here is the cold truth we have to face. Usefulness is a transactional value. A hammer is useful. A wrench is useful. But if a hammer breaks or a better one comes along, you just buy a new one. When you anchor your entire self-worth to how much you can do for other people, you have effectively turned yourself into a commodity. You've put on what I call the identity handcuffs. You've tied your value to your output, and now you're trapped by it. Think about the last time you tried to take a 30-minute break. I'm talking about a real break. No phone, no planning, no listening to a productive podcast, just sitting there. What happened? If you're like most of the leaders I work with, you didn't feel relaxed. You felt guilty. You felt like a bad parent because you weren't engaging with the kids. You felt like a lazy leader because you weren't answering that email. You've mistaken being needed for being known. That guilt is the sound of the handcuffs clicking shut. You've convinced yourself that if you aren't producing, you aren't worthy of the space that you're taking up. You feel like a failure the moment you aren't being a tool for someone else's convenience. And that leads us to a really uncomfortable place, the grief of the machine. To step through that threshold and become a person again, you have to let the super producer version of you die. And that is a loss. Everyone in your life has become very comfortable with the machine version of you. Your boss loves the machine. Your clients rely on the machine. Even your family has learned to navigate around the machine. When you stop being useful and you start being essential, which means being a presence that changes the room just by being in it, you're going to feel a sense of grief. You are mourning the version of yourself that everyone else found so convenient. It's okay to admit that it's scary to put down the badge of the overachiever, but you have to realize the machine isn't the only one they love. It's just the one they use. So how do we actually do this without the whole structure collapsing? Because the fear is real. You're worried that if you stop, the world will stop spinning. This is where the behavioral science concept of loss aversion kicks in. As humans, we're wired to feel the pain of losing something much more intensely than we feel the joy of gaining something. You are hyper-focused on what you might lose if you change. You're afraid of losing your status as the go-to person or losing control of the household logistics. You're so focused on the loss that you can't even see the gain, your own fulfillment. You have to name that fear. If you're sitting in that car tonight, ask yourself, what am I actually afraid will happen if I walk through that door and don't fix anything for an hour? Usually, the answer is a story you've made up to keep yourself busy. The shift happens in the 5-second threshold. There's a physical gap between the moment you know you should put the phone down and the moment your hand actually moves. It's a 5-second window where your brain is going to try to talk you out of it. It's going to tell you it's not the right time, or you're too tired, or you'll do it tomorrow. You have to move before the countdown ends. Don't try to overhaul your life tomorrow. That's just another form of managing and project planning. Instead, I want you to create a transition ritual. It's a tiny physical anchor that tells your nervous system the manager is checking out and the human is checking in. Tonight, when you get to that front door, don't just turn the key, touch the door frame. Take one human breath, not a shallow stress breath, but a deep grounding breath that reminds you that you have a body. In that 1 second, you make a decision. You aren't walking in to provide. You are walking in to be a presence. There comes a point where all the reflection and all the audits in the world become just another way of stalling. You can't think your way through a wall. You have to walk through it. I see this all the time. People who become experts at analyzing their burnout, but they never actually stop being burned out. Awareness is essential, but awareness without action is just a different kind of stuck. Familiarity has weight. Even when it's painful, it can feel more stable to keep analyzing the wall than it does to actually walk through the door. Crossing the threshold isn't a spectacle. It's a quiet decision made privately in the middle of an otherwise ordinary day. It's the moment you decide to stop seeking light from the approval of others, from your boss, from the people you're trying to impress, or even from your kids' achievements, and you start existing from your own force. When you step through that door and you choose to be present, you are reclaiming your agency. You are saying that your life belongs to you, not to your inbox. You are moving away from the struggle and toward the version of you that is capable of moving forward without needing to resolve every single fear first. That is the threshold. It shows up in how you enter a room, how you make a decision, and how you carry yourself through an ordinary Wednesday. Once you cross that threshold just once, you realize the wall was never as solid as it looked. It was just a story you were too tired to stop telling. Next week, we take this conversation in the world of practical design. I'll be joined by Alvin Roth, a Nobel Prize-winning economist and a pioneer in market design. We're going to look at the hidden math of the world around us, how the markets we live in shape the choices we make, and how we can navigate those systems to find the matches that actually matter for our lives.
So in the 1920s, we passed a constitutional amendment that forbid most sales of alcoholic beverages. And a dozen years later, we repealed it. And the reason was prohibition didn't actually limit consumption of alcohol by all that much. And it gave rise to organized crime. Now, having repealed prohibition, we now have legal markets for alcohol. That doesn't mean the problems of alcohol went away, right? There's still alcoholism, there's still driving under the influence. But one thing you can't do anymore is buy moonshine whiskey from gangsters, right? We've taken a lot of the crime out of alcohol. We still have alcoholism, and the birth of Alcoholics Anonymous came just around the time of the repeal of prohibition.
If today was about the courage to step through the door, next week is about understanding the landscape on the other side. Your homework tonight isn't a checklist. It isn't a to-do list. It's a single act of presence. When you walk through your door tonight, put the phone in a drawer. Don't check the email. Don't scan the kitchen for what needs to be fixed. Just stand still for 60 seconds. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Feel the weight of your body. Remind yourself, I am the person who lives here. I'm not just the person who maintains the structure. Your time is not renewable, but your experience of it is. It changes the moment you choose to put down the handcuffs and step out of the machine. It changes with where you place your attention, how you define your worth, and whether you allow yourself to be fully present in the life you've already built. Thank you for choosing Passion Struck. Now go out there, feel the floor beneath your feet, and live like it matters.